Well, on this night, exactly 1 year ago, probably right now, Sean Hannity was anxiously texting Donald Trump's fourth White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, saying, "I'm very worried about the next 48 hours. Unfortunately for Sean Hannity and the country, Sean Hannity was sending a text to the weakest and most criminally inclined of the Trump White House Chiefs of Staff. Mark Meadows had already engaged in a phone call with Donald Trump to Georgia's Secretary of State, a call that was clearly criminal in nature, a violation of state and federal law on election interference. The whole country had already heard the audio tape of that criminal phone call. Sean Hannity heard the audio tape of that phone call, which is now being investigated by a grand jury in Georgia. He heard the audio tape of that phone call to Georgia's Secretary of State, and that may be why Sean Hannity's texts to Mark Meadows are filled with fear that Donald Trump does not know what he's doing and that Mark Meadows does not know what he is doing. We know now, thanks to Bob Woodward and Robert Costa's reporting in their best-selling book Peril and other reporting, that Donald Trump and Mark Meadows already knew that the White House counsel was threatening to quit over Donald Trump's criminal attempts to change the outcome of the presidential election. On this night, exactly 1 year ago, Sean Hannity texted Mark Meadows, "Pence pressure, White House counsel will leave." Mark Meadows already knew that. Sean Hannity knew that Mark Meadows already knew that. But at this hour, 1 year ago, Sean Hannity was desperately trying to get the weakest White House Chief of Staff in history to step up to a deranged president and do the right thing, say the right thing. It was on this day, 1 year ago, that Mike Pence told Donald Trump in the Oval Office that he was not going to violate the law and attempt to reject electoral votes submitted to Congress the next day. In that meeting on this evening, 1 year ago in the White House, Donald Trump told Mike Pence, "What do you think, Mike?" Trump asked. "Look, I've read this and I don't see a way to do it. We've exhausted every option. I've done everything I could and then some to find a way around this. It's simply not possible. My interpretation is no. I've met with all of these people," Pence said. "They're all on the same page. I personally believe these are the limits to what I can do. So if you have a strategy for the 6th, it really shouldn't involve me because I'm just there to open the envelopes. You should be talking to the House and Senate. Your team should be talking to them about what kind of evidence they're going to present." "No, no, no," Trump shouted. "You don't understand, Mike. You can do this. I don't want to be your friend anymore if you don't do this. You're not going to be sworn in on the 20th. There is not a scenario in which you can be sworn in on the 20th, Pence said. We need to figure out how to deal with it, how we want to handle it, how we want to talk about it. You've betrayed us. I made you. You were nothing," Trump said. "Your career is over if you do this." Pence did not budge. In a series of tweets today, Robert Costa reviewed some of the developments of this day 1 year ago that we did not know about then, including that Rudy Giuliani even wanted to go over to VP's home and give him a talking to late on 1/5. Pence eventually has dinner that night at residence with several supporters, donors. Giuliani doesn't go over, but strikingly, and not to be forgotten, Trump campaign issues a late statement saying Pence agrees with Trump's position on election, stuns Pence and his advisors. That's the pressure on Pence that Sean Hannity was afraid of. That is what Sean Hannity was advising Donald Trump not to do. Robert Costa writes, "As midnight approached, people in the streets were yelling, delighted and almost euphoric about Trump taking back the election. Trump soon called Giuliani and then called Steve Bannon. He was very arrogant," Trump said of Pence. Trump's 4 words were sobering. It was Trump explaining away a deal gone bad. Pence was not going to break. If Mike Pence was arrogant, that meant Trump's push was dead. Very arrogant, Trump reported. Trump kept tweeting into the night. The January 6th committee wants to hear all about this from Mike Pence.
His life was in danger. I would hope that he would do the right thing and come forward and voluntarily talk to the committee. You know, everybody there didn't have a security detail. So we'd like to know what his security detail told him was going on and what all went on. I think it's important that the public needs to know. This was the number 2 person in government.
Tonight, the January 6th committee has been meeting with someone who is a witness to some of what happened on January 5th and January 6th in the Trump White House. Stephanie Grisham publicly resigned on the night of January 6th after the attack on the Capitol. She tweeted her resignation at 7:59 p.m. Stephanie Grisham made history as the only White House press secretary never to publicly speak with the press. And today, she made history as the first White House press secretary to tell a congressional committee what she knows about a former president's involvement in an insurrection at the Capitol and a criminal conspiracy to violate election law. Stephanie Grisham first served as a White House press secretary. Her final position in the White House was chief of staff to Melania Trump, who, along with her husband Donald, did nothing while the Capitol was being attacked. Melania Trump did not do what Sean Hannity tried to do when Sean Hannity sent a text to Mark Meadows during the attack on the Capitol telling him, ask people to peacefully leave the Capitol. During Donald Trump's criminal attempt to violate election law, Donald Trump apparently took more advice from one of Sean Hannity's advertisers than he did from Sean Hannity. Pillow salesman Mike Lindell is apparently under investigation by the January 6th committee for that advice. In an interview with CNBC, the pillow salesman said he received a notice from Verizon about a subpoena for his phone records from November through early January.